Hello, everyone. This is Tony Abad, and you're on the Digital Diplomat again. Today, we have a very interesting topic. It's particularly timely because of the pandemic, and also many of the things that have been happening lately make us think about our own situation. And I focus on the word motivation. How do we motivate ourselves, especially coming into a new year, 2023, and realizing that, after 2 years, what's going to happen to us? And we have with us, he's what they call a passionate business leader, but someone who has successfully set up a business focusing on motivation, and has since moved and really elevated or leveled up himself in the world as a motivator, and deep inside still as an executive coach. Tan Nguyen. Tan, thank you for joining us today. And first of all, I wanted to ask you, before we move on to some of these questions on the word motivation, I wanted to ask you about this successful transition and evolution that you've been able to do in your career, and where you are at now.
I see. Well, thanks, Tony, for the time and for the opportunity. It's a simple career. I've been working in one industry. It's a market research. Starting as a one-person company, and eventually grow into a bigger business. And then lucky enough, I got an opportunity to engage into merger and acquisition with a global organization, and go on to work with them for a long time and form one of the most successful M&A transition in the business. But I think the most important part, which relates to our topic today, is really going through the business in over 20 years. It gives me the opportunity to experience only up and down, which involve feeling motivated and sometimes demotivated, and sometimes get stuck and sometimes get unstuck and move forward. And also give me the opportunity to reflect upon those experiences and draw some of the very significant learning that apply back into how we run the business. That basically based on the principle of simplicity, and authenticity, and this is how it keep, and also based on the principle of clarity, of always having a clarity of where we're heading. So, in brief, taking out my 25 years career, simplicity, clarity, these are the key learning for me, and I bring it with me to the next step in my career, which is focusing on helping younger leader, people who need support in addition into my coaching.
So, what makes motivation? Motivating teams, re-energizing teams of people or individuals, executives, when they're feeling demoralized, or they're feeling very low energy. What makes this work of motivation a very important topic for business leaders today?
I think it's a very big question. This is a big aspect, and I think maybe I just look at that from one angle of clarity. I think the first element we need to really answer is what truly motivates us, and for that, sometimes we need to distinguish between goal and result. And a lot of time when in challenging situation, we are demotivated by that prospect that we might not be able to achieve the result that we want. For example, X% of growth, Y% of profit, or whatever. But I think recently, I'm not sure if you follow the World Cup. Recently the soccer World Cup in Qatar, and For me, I love team sport. And it's amazing to see that 25% of the match in this World Cup is won by the underdog.
Is that something
Yeah,
that's statistically proven over time?
it's significant this time. And but what is more important is watching those teams, watching the Japan, watching Morocco, those teams playing. You can see a significant difference in the way they play that we really love watching these play. They play with the belief that they can get the result, even though they might not be able to get a result, but they win with the belief. And look at, even though they got knocked down, they go home, but see how they feel, how these people feel, because they feel like, oh, they can win one match, and they now are now believing that maybe in the next World Cup, they can do a little bit better. They can do a little bit better. And if we look at Japan, a few, before, that there was never any hope that, we can think, this team can even score one goal. So I think, the element that we really truly need to understand, that's why we bring clarity into the motivation, is that what truly motivates us is actually the belief that we can achieve something out of the ordinary.
And conversely, it seems to boil down to the fear or anticipation that what you want to do is not achievable. The fear of failure.
Exactly. So it's a really balance between the fear of failure or hopelessness, and the belief that we can do something that defy all odds. So I think the motivation is there. And there was a word I usually work out with a coach, that exercise coach, and she always say, if it's easy, we don't like it, right? And it's true. If we
Mhm.
achieve something is so easy, we don't feel motivated. If we achieve something that we don't think we can, but we try, we feel very motivated. But of course, if we go too extreme, become hopeless, is also is a demotivation. So the key element here is really there's a little bit of our comfort zone, a little bit of reach, and that is the kind of formula for motivation.
Previously, you've talked about what you call a balanced act or a balancing act. What is this balancing act that people should do, and then maybe couple it with the need for discipline? I mean,
Yeah.
you need motivation is actually something that requires discipline. How do you build it into your advice for people?
Yeah, it's a balance. Actually, look, just for us, in order for us to work in balance, the most important part is one step has to be firm before we move to the next step. That's it's very simple. Now, you want to climb the mountain, you want to be balanced. First step have to firm before you move the next one. So that is the discipline. That's the discipline that we need to follow. And the key discipline here is to make sure the only thing that we concern at this moment now is how do we make sure that we take one firm step forward. And
Mm.
that's the discipline. And once that step is firm, then the next one, it will be firm. So normally, we look at, we want to climb the mountain. We say, we look at the mountain, we feel hopeless because it's too high, it's too challenging. But if we just follow on discipline, what is most important right now is to have one firm step, and then I worry about the next step after I have this step firm.
Something that you could actually visualize, no?
That is actually something you visualize, and I'll go back to the story of the World Cup. If a small team, wants to win a match in the World Cup, the first step they need to do, the very, very first step they need to do, is to be able to score just one goal. Just one goal, right? Doesn't matter if that match they win or lose, but we need to, and that leads to the most important question: is that what is most important right now? So if leader can identify most important right now for us in order to potentially reach our long-term goal is to score one goal, and if that is defined clearly, this is the only thing that matter now. What it will help organization is we'll prioritize and we mobilize our resource and focusing on all of that. And we'll let go, we drop, we give up things that doesn't help.
Tan, I wanted to ask you before we go, maybe one or two stories, maybe for us non-football players, where you faced, or not, rather, the client or the person you're advising faced what I'd call hopeless situation, a challenging scenario, if you will. You were actually able to turn it around using motivation.
Yeah. Most common challenge leader face is that they are losing a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
There are times when you are losing, you are leading a big team, and then most of your senior people are leaving. So you're left with a few junior staff and with business KPI and things like that. And we probably the whole team will feel hopeless. There's hopeless that we can achieve quality and we achieve result with that team. And people will begin to look around, and even the leader will feel demotivated. So the key question, come back to this and ask the question: what is most important right now at this moment? So come back. The most important right now is how do we deliver quality? That's the only thing that matters now. That's the only thing that matters. So once we be able to decide that quality is most important, then it becomes a challenging and inspiring goal for our staff and say, hey, if we can work together so that you can deliver such quality, imagine how would that feel for you? You'll be performing at a different level.
Dan, how do you deal with staff or even executives within an organization who probably are struggling with their own personal issues? Oftentimes it's been motivation, not just because of what's happening in the organization, but what's happening with people personally and individually. How have you been, how have you managed to help people out of these ruts or these dilemmas, if we call it that?
I think the key here is people have to help themselves, and that is feel powerful for them. The key here for business leader is not to be distracted by the individual, because again, the leader have to answer the question: what is most important right now? Most important right now is for the team to deliver quality. And he have to remind the individual that is most important right now is to deliver quality. And therefore, answer the question that are you able to deliver the quality given the circumstances that you are facing with? Because the danger for the leader is to be distracted by things that is not a priority for the business. So by answering those questions, he actually helped the staff focusing on most important, and therefore give the staff the key question to himself as well, because the staff will then ask himself, what is most important in my life right now? And therefore, in the way, helping the staff to solve the problem for themselves.
Thank you for that, Dan. I think I think myself included and our friends within our TCP Growth network would actually benefit by sitting down with you, and maybe we should sit down one day and talk about these things.
Absolutely.
I'm already thinking, what is the most important thing? Unfortunately, we don't, we don't have the luxury of time, and it's also because this show also benefits from its conciseness. No? But thank you so much. You've shared so much with us within this short period of time, and I hope business leaders out there would listen. Your concepts might be very simple, but they're actually very meaningful. No? So again, thank you. Our audience, thank you very much for joining us today. If you like what you've watched or were interested in what we've been discussing, please press our like buttons in all our social media. Subscribe to our YouTube page, and join us as well on LinkedIn and Facebook, The Digital Diplomat by TCP Growth. Thank you.